Steve just got a good one. Yeah. Nice one. On our new poppin' frog.
Poppin' frog. G-Rat. Here in Northern California, the unpredictable weather is causing some inconsistent fishing. I don't care where you are, it's been tough all over. So with that, let's take a look at a few pictures from some of the more successful anglers, some of their catches from last week. Then we'll get into the weekly report and we'll see if we can figure this whole thing out. So let's take a look at a few pictures. Hi everyone, thanks for joining me. You're watching In Deep on the Delta. This is the weekly fishing report for May 7th. And it's been tough throughout Northern California, and like I said in the intro, we have to get some stable weather sooner or later. It should be 90 degrees. Daytime temps have been 60 to 65, nighttime temps down in the 50s. It's going to get better and the fishing is going to get better. So with that, let's do a little news, then we'll get right into the reports. And just real quick, the Modesto Bass Ambassadors, they have their 53rd annual Night Team Classic. That's coming up June 6th at Fleming Meadows in Don Pedro. You can check out the Modesto Ambassadors website, and that'll have all the information on it for that. We also have another Central Valley tackle swap in Modesto. That's going to be June 20th out at Whiskey Jack's. That's 1000 Kansas Avenue. I have that flyer up. You'll be able to get all the information off of that flyer. Also, for those of you who've been asking about In Deep on the Delta merch, I got a new shipment in, so I have all the sizes and colors that you should want. If you're out around Paradise Point, you can go into the store, talk to Jessica, tell her what she wants, and she can set you up with any In Deep on the Delta merchandise. Or you can reach me at scooper, that's SCOOPER 956 1032 at gmail.com, and I'll get you set up with whatever you need, and we'll make sure you get that In Deep on the Delta merchandise. We have a special guest this week, so we're going to start off with Clear Lake, and we're going to run through Clear Lake and Don Pedro real quick. Then we're going to get into the stripers and largemouth bass here on the California Delta. So let's start off with Clear Lake. I talked to Nino up at Clear Lake Outdoors, and he flat out came out and said the fishing is slow to fare. The fish they're there, they're easy to find, but they're not thinking about eating right now. They're thinking about spawning. So you can find them, it's making them bite is a different story. And basically, he's saying that they're in full spawn, a few fish in pre-spawn, a few fish in post-spawn, a lot of fish are on the beds. Water clarity and the depth that they're spawning is making it even hard for the bed fishermen to go up and fish these big spawners up at Clear Lake right now. What Nino's been doing is basically throwing plastics. It's pretty much a junk fishing situation. He's throwing plastics in about 5 feet of water, hoping that he can troll one of these big females into picking up a fish, but it's been slow. And honestly, Nino said if you're thinking about coming up here, he would give it a week or 2 weeks. Wait for this weather to stabilize, wait for some of these fish to get out of their spawning mode, and it's going to get a lot better. So if you guys have any questions, don't be afraid to call Clear Lake Outdoors, 707-262-5852. If Nino's in there, tell him you want to talk to Nino. He'll give you the special In Deep on the Delta report, and I know he will be very honest with you and helping to put you into the fish. So that is the Clear Lake report. I also talked to Aaron out at Central Valley Bait and Tackle, and he's reporting not only about Don Pedro, Maloney's, and I actually talked to John Liechty from Experience Guide Service last week. He also reported Maloney's has been a little off. Still catching a lot of fish, but it's not like it was a week or two ago. So Aaron's saying that Don Pedro is basically post-spawn, and I'm sure, I know a few people that have been fishing up at Maloney's post-spawn also. I'm thinking that all the clear, deep motherlode lakes are probably past their prime spawning and into post-spawn. But Aaron's saying that if you want to go up to Don Pedro, you're going to want to concentrate in about 10 to 25 feet of water, throwing plastics, throwing jigs. A friend of Aaron's a couple days ago picked up a double digit on a jig, 10-pound plus fish. Not a lot of them coming in. The average size, and most of the fish that are caught on the main lake right now are spots. They're averaging about 1 to 2 pounds. The fish that are being caught in the creek channels are more largemouth bass, and they're a little bit bigger. They have been getting a lot of traffic up there, so Aaron kind of suggests if you can get into some of the 5-mile-an-hour zones, get in there and fish the creek channels, you'll get out of the traffic, you'll have a much better day of fishing, and you'll probably catch a few of the larger largemouth. So stay in the creek channels, and also keep a topwater bait on all day, throughout the day. Give that a cast when you get in the prime spots, when you get in around brush, when you get over points, ledges that are in a little shallower water. Throw that top water. You might get a big fish. If you have any questions, call Aaron. It's Central Valley Bait and Tackle, and that is at 209-427-0118. Let's move into the striper report, and I had the opportunity to get out on the Delta last week with Garrett Dixon from G-Rat Baits. We weren't fishing for stripers, we were fishing for largemouth, but I want to give Garrett a big shout out right now. We've got a video coming out that will be fishing the Delta, and we will talk about, or we will be fishing for largemouth bass. Most people know Garrett for stripers, the man behind the Sneaky Pete, and just catching giant stripers. Garrett and I are going to do a video coming up shortly on how to catch giant stripers. But anyhow, I was out with Garrett Dixon, and he is really ramping up his show. He's got a new YouTube channel. All you have to do is Google up G-Rat Baits, and that will come on, and you'll be able to see some of his newer videos that are coming out. He's got a great production team. The videos are great, and you should be expecting big things out of Garrett Dixon and G-Rat Baits. Our video next week will be primarily showcasing his plastic baits, some of his frogs, some of his Delta style baits, bass baits. Watch that video. Make sure you hit the like button and leave a comment. We're going to pick one of those comments out, and Garrett will be shipping you a package of 6 frogs. I did get a chance to talk to Garrett about stripers, and man, all of our stripers, not all of them, but a lot of them, they're farther up the Sacramento River. Calouse is fishing great. There's they're still catching fish up there right and left, and they're getting a better class of fish. That's way up north. So that's Garrett's report for stripers way up north. I also talked to Jeff Suhu, and Jeff also has friends up there, and also mentioned that the fish are up there and they're catching fish. Jeff is fishing around Pittsburgh in that area, the West Delta, and he is just really getting onto stripers. He is going through 2, 3, 4 dozen live baits every day when he has 3 or 4 clients on board. They run through those live baits. They get a ton of fish. After they go through the live bait, Jeff is jigging, and they're having fun catching a few more fish, and they're heading back in. But what Jeff is saying, he's looking at kind of a prolonged striper bite in through the next 2, 3, 4 weeks, because there are so many fish up north that as he is still catching fresh fish from the bay here, he's still got fish that are full of eggs. The males are still squirting, so they're not done spawning. That has got to play out. Those fish have to leave, and then the next flight of fish that are coming from up north are going to come through the west Delta and prolong that bite. So stripers are looking good right now. Or if you want to call Jeff Suhu to get out and do a live bait trip, give Jeff a call, and his number is 925-899-4040. 4 or 5. And I want to thank Jeff for continuing to keep contact with me and give me these striper reports. So with that, let's start off with largemouth bass, and we're going to start off with none other than Christian Ostrander. Christian is off of a fresh victory from the BAM tournament, and by the way, Christian and I did a full-length video that should be out hopefully tomorrow. If you're watching this Thursday, hopefully Christian's video will be out Friday, and Christian documents everything from pre-fishing through his 3 days of fishing and how he won the BAM tournament, the Pro-Am tournament just this last week. So with that, let's turn it over to Christian, and he'll give you guys an idea, the weekend guys, an idea of what you can do to come out here, maybe not to catch a 25-pound bag, but to put fish in the boat. So take it away, Christian. Okay, Christian, you've had a pretty good week this last week. You won the big BAM tournament. We're going to be doing a full video on that, so we'll make sure everybody gets a chance to take a look at that. But let's talk about the people that are coming out this next week. Weather conditions are changing a little bit, hopefully for the better. They're not looking to put a 25-pound bag in the boat. They got a day off to go fishing. They're coming out to the Delta. What do they need to do? What are the 3 baits they should have on, and what kind of water they should they be looking for, and maybe what tide they should be looking at?
Yeah, you know what? It's warming up big time. Later this week, in the next couple weeks, it's going to get hot, 90 degrees. You know what? When it starts to do that, I start to look for a lot of cheese. Okay, a lot of that just yellow cheese, and I'm not talking just for frogs. You can throw a lot of worms around that, you know, around the edge, throwing a whopper plopper or something. Hit those banks, whether it's rock, Thule Islands, doesn't matter. Get on that stuff. Bends in the river, grab a little more current, and those bluegill don't mind spawning on that kind of stuff, and those big bass are just hanging right around with them. So doing that kind of stuff. Green pumpkin worms, you know, a black top water, whether it's a frog, a spook, a popper, you know, a whopper plopper, just black.
All day long with
All
those?
day long, it does not matter. It does not matter. Lower tide, throw a little top water around. With the heat, they're gonna snap.
How about if they're having trouble, they just want to catch a few males at 1 to 2 pound class, what bait should they use? You know, what should they be doing to just get some action?
Yeah, you need to throw a 5-inch Cinco or a trick worm. I like the Magnum trick worm, but you can throw the regular trick worm. Don't think you gotta be Mr. Bait Caster, okay? I weighed a lot of my fish this week all on spinning rods. I'm a freak about spinning rods, and whip a little worm out there. There's nothing better than having that light little spinning rod bent over, braid. I throw all my spinning rods on the Delta straight braid. Okay, light braid, Sharpie the first couple feet.
20 pound?
20 pound braid. The brand I'm using is actually like the diameter of 10. And that's all you need. Sharpie the braid. You do not need a leader on the Delta. These fish do not care. They're seeing that black braid and it's blending in with the grass. They're keyed in on that worm or whatever you're throwing on it. So flick that thing around. You could catch a giant on a spinning rod. So that's 100% what I would do if you guys are coming out here the next couple weeks.
All right, thanks, Christian. It worked for you. I'm sure it's going to work for you guys. So let's get back to the weekly report. And don't pass up the interview I'm going to do with Christian. It's going to be what he did on his 3 days of fishing, along with, we'll talk about his 2 days of practice for the BAM and how Christian won the West.
Yeah,
so.
And I'm also guiding out here. So if you guys want to call me or text me, look me up on Facebook or Instagram, and he'll include my number in there. So I'd love to get you guys out here.
Yeah, well, give me your number right now.
Yeah, my number is 209-648-3778. Shoot me a text, give me a call. I'm going to be out here hard the next month, so love to get you guys out here, and every day we've been catching them.
So let's get back to the report.
Yep.
All right.
Thanks.
So with that, let's talk about the BAM tournament, the one that Christian won just a few days ago. It had 88 boats, and he won the tournament, obviously. And you know, I know he had a 24-pound bag, a 21-pound bag, and I think a 17-pound bag. That was for the victory. But what I want to talk about is mid-pack, right around, out of 88 boats. What were the guys doing right around 44, 45? They had, for 2 days, they had 27 pounds, which is about a 13.5-pound average per day. So right around mid-pack, the pros, they were getting about 13 pounds a day. Mid-level for the amateurs, they were down to about 5 pounds a day. There were two 10-pound fish came in, one 9-pound, a couple of 8s, and a couple of 7s. But really, when you look at that, the mid-level guys really struggled out here. They fished hard, and a lot of them really had a tough time. Now, with that being said, they were fishing some unstable weather conditions, and they were fishing the backside of a full moon. I can tell you, the day that Garrett and I went out, we fished fairly hard all day. We weren't tournament style fishing. We were out having some fun. We were checking out a lot of Garrett's prototypes, and we caught some fish, but we did notice that day after the full moon, we were getting a lot of fish coming up looking. Garrett was using a lot of forward-facing sonar, and we had fish all day coming up looking at our baits that were refusing them. We did catch some fish. A lot of the topwater fish were coming up and rolling on it. We missed some big fish. We had our opportunities, but we didn't have what I would call a stellar day. I think we put together a decent 5-fish limit, and I think Garrett had one probably right around 6 pounds. So, it's never a bad day when you get a 6-pounder, but the fishing was tough. I also noticed, I think I went out the day after that, earlier this week, and the frog fishing started coming on for me, but I'm not catching a lot of fish on the frogs. I'm catching 1 out of about every 4 fish that comes up and takes a frog. They're coming up, they're hitting it pretty hard, but they're just not eating it. So I think as this water warms up, the temperatures are going to put those fish into high gear, and when you end up getting 4 frog bites, you're probably going to catch 3 of them instead of catching 1 of them. So it's been a little testy on the frog bite. I know the tournament guys didn't do a whole lot with the topwaters. Most of them were throwing chatterbaits, worms, punching. The guys that were throwing frogs caught a few fish, but it wasn't hot and heavy. I talked to my buddy Ted. Coach Ted is back in town. He was on a little vacation. He's out fishing this week, and he has been doing well early morning with topwaters, and that bite dies off about, depending on the day. If the sun comes out, that's when the topwater bite dies off. If you have a day like today where you've got a little wind, a little overcast, that topwater bite can go till 9:30 in the morning. I think as of Tuesday, I talked to him, he was just coming in about 9:30, and the topwater bite had just dropped off. Ted's getting nice fish in that 3 to 4.5 pound class on topwaters. Worms are still going great. Chatterbaits are starting to come around, and I know punching and worms played a big part on Christian's tournament win for the BAM. I'm still catching fish on worms, 6-inch Cinco, 5-inch Cinco, wacky style. They're on a day where they're aggressive, they're hitting it as it's running down to the bottom or falling down to the bottom. When they get less aggressive, I'm putting a inline worm hook on, letting it get to the bottom and just slowly bringing it through the weeds. The fish that are active are in shallow water. I would suggest if you're coming out on the weekend, forget about anything deeper than 5 feet. The fish are out there, but they're much harder to catch. You want to stay in that 2 to 4 feet of water, and those are the fish that, when you find them, they're going to be more active, and they'll be active on chatterbaits. They'll be active if you're punching, if you have some surface vegetation over that 3 or 4 feet of water. The punch bite is coming on. They'll take worms on the outside edges of that. And topwaters, pretty much throughout the day. You want to keep a topwater on, a popper, a bubble walker, maybe even a chatterbait or something, a buzz bait on, or a fast moving bait, a whopper plopper. It's going to happen. So with that, I want to thank you guys for watching. Make sure you watch that video coming up with Garrett Dixon, and it's going to be something fishing with Garrett on the California Delta. A lot of good information on that video, and remember, Garrett's, for anybody that watches that and puts a comment down, you will be in the drawing for a bunch of Garrett's frogs. Do I have anything else to say? Yeah, I do. I'm going to be out here in this next week, and I'm going to try to fish every minute that I can, because I think the fishing is going to turn on. Remember to send in your reports. Let me know what you do. Until then, get out there, have a good time, be safe, and we'll see you guys on the river. Thanks for watching.